Hi everyone, it's Tom Mackie here. Now I've got a special treat for you today. I'm here with a friend, Duncan McNicol, who was one of the top commercial photographers in London. He's worked with clients such as, well, you name any company and you've probably worked with them over the past, what, 40 years of your career?
40 years, yeah.
You know, Kawasaki, you're going to show us some of your clients tonight. Now these are jobs that you shot for them on location using large format.
Sure, yeah.
Now, large format, if you watched our video, Photography of the Past, Present, and Future, I showed you some of the formats that I've used. I started out using 4x5 as Duncan. I'm using it for landscape, but you're using it on location, which presents all sorts of problems. And very much like this camera here, this is an 8x10, so a lot more problems with 8x10, isn't there?
There is. I mean, most of the time, to be honest, I would shoot in the studio with 10x8, as I call it.
10x8, yeah. The Americans say it the other way.
But most of the time would be in the studio. That's where I started off, shooting still lives, glass and bottle, bottle and glass, glass and bottle, bottle and glass, and room sets and lots of commercial stuff for advertising.
So as a commercial photographer, you are a problem solver, basically, aren't you? Because you're presented with a brief by the client, and you have to make sure that that brief comes off as the client wants. So you have to solve logistic problems, lighting problems, all sorts of problems that I'm going to hope that you're going to tell us about some of them today. So shall we start with one of my favorite ads that you did was Johnny Walker.
Oh yeah, Johnny Walker. That was very exciting. It was I had to find two locations in Scotland. One was a river, and one was a jetty. And the whole idea is you've got 3 or 4 people who are finishing the end of their day, whether it's fishing or the other one was on horseback, and we're behind them and watching them go towards the end of the day, which is a building which has got lights in it, and it's a warm whiskey kind of feel. So we had to find somewhere that would do that. And I sent my location finder out. Took about a week to come back with some locations. Eventually we agreed on somewhere to go, and we shot near Ilindonnan in the Highlands, near the Isle of Skye. Opposite there's a little jetty, and that was the perfect place for shooting the boat coming in.
So we've got some behind-the-scenes shots that you've shown me, and let's go ahead and have a look at some of those. And show me some of the problems that you had in bringing this shot to fruition.
Yeah, well, I mean, we one of the horses shot, we actually found a beautiful whole estate which owned the whole valley, and we found this great little crossing space where we could get the horses to go across, and there was a beautiful lodge house on the other side of the river. So we then worked out that it was shallow enough for us to shoot, and we then organised a local stables to get some horses. We'd already looked at the models in London, and we brought 4 models up with us. And then the art director obviously came and made sure that he was quite happy with the right place.
Right.
But it doesn't just happen like that.
No, I'm sure it doesn't.
We got there, and I then got my set builders to put together some horses made out of polystyrene. So they basically lined up in roughly where we thought they'd be. I think there were 8-foot polystyrene flats we used. To give us a rough idea as to where they would go, where the camera would need to be, which was great. So we organised that, and we then went off to the hotel to have an evening, and came back first thing in the morning to notice that it was pouring with rain, and the river had risen overnight.
Oh no.
So all of a sudden what was a nice shallow area with nice stones that you could see leading to the house had disappeared.
So all your pre-planning had just kind of gone out down the river, basically.
Well, we had down the river. We had no option but to keep going. And I spoke to the farmer, who very kindly said, "Oh, I'll get my tractor out and move a few stones for you, and that'll help a lot, I think. So anyway, he, wherever the tractor is, somewhere here, so he got his tractor out and pushed these boulders all over the place. And eventually, we got a crossing that looked fairly reasonable. Luckily, by the afternoon, which is when we were shooting, because we were going to shoot, obviously, at twilight, so we needed the lights on in the house, but we needed that half light outside.
So you're going for that blue hour shot, but in the final ad that I've seen, it's got a really warm, inviting look. How did you accomplish that?
Well, it was a few years ago now, and and remember 85C, 85A, warming filter was well in fashion. More than that, the reason this art director had chosen me for that shoot was I'd done a shot of a windmill in Norfolk. Clay mill, you might remember it.
I know that.
And I think I used an 85B on it or something, warming filter. He thought that's a great colour for whiskey. So the whole idea was this whole shoot would look whiskey-esque in colour, that lovely sort of orangey colour. So that's it. So that's what we then did. But we eventually got the riders there, we got the models there. The river then by that time had actually reduced even more, which was great because it was looking really dodgy. And we got the guys to set up and walk across the river and waited till the light balanced out between the house.
So now you also had, you were saying about a platform that you had to have built?
That was the second shot. The second shot was for Johnny Walker using a boat. The guys had been out on a fishing trip and had come in and were landing at a jetty.
Right.
And I was actually placed in the water on a platform that my model makers had built for me. We were placed on the platform with the camera on the seabed. My assistant was in a little rib inflatable next to me, ready to hand me the dark slides. And we literally waited until, again, the tide was right, and I knew the tide was going to be high tide at a certain time in the evening, which was the other reason we got there at the right time of year, so that it was the right height. We'd worked the camera out that the water would be hopefully not over the top of it by the time twilight again had hit, about that twilight hour.
So let's go ahead and see the final shot then. Show me the final image that you did.
So I think we got here.
I mean, it's quite amazing, showing the behind the scenes and showing that final image. It's amazing what you've come up with.
Well, we're looking here at a thing called a 10x8 image, which a transparency, which I think you might remember. Tom, in your.
So you would have these on a light table. I'll hold them against the fire, melt a little bit. But that's quite impressive to see those before shots and see how you ended up with.
Well, as I was saying, the water was coming closer and closer. Luckily, two things. A, it was an overcast night, which is perfect because I didn't want sun. I wanted a grey sky that we could warm up with a filter. I was also waiting for the water to come up so I could be very low in the water with the lens. And I think I was explaining to you earlier, we literally got to a stage where my assistant said, "You got water on the bellows," and that literally, that shot,
right down.
We were right down. By that time, the water had come up. I mean, I literally in the end had to lift the camera up and say, "Andy, it's a wrap. That's it. That's fine shot." And that was the shot. But it was also the problem of waiting for the light to be just about right. We then had we had 3 generators which were lighting the interior of this little jetty bothy that was there that we'd hired. We had to paint it white to do the picture. The guy was very happy, and he just wanted us to paint it white and we could use it. So we had a lighting generator to light that up.
Okay, now I know that you're sticking to a very tight brief. How much creativity can you put, your own creativity, can you put into an ad?
Well, I mean, that one there, obviously the filtration was kind of down to me. He liked that kind of direction, so that was me. I also used to use a very slight soft filter on the back of my large format. I think it was a Nikon Soft 1.
Now that's interesting.
Which I think you can go blip now on Photoshop.
Yeah, it's like the Orton effect. So you would take, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So you're talking about, wow,
That's a heavy lens.
this is a monster.
3 kilos, yeah.
So you would literally tape this or blue tack it?
Yeah, we'd have a gel filter and we'd tape it to the back of the lens, probably with a bit of tape, yeah.
Now why wouldn't you put it on the front?
Well, because you might get some unwanted reflections from a light or a sun or any light object that's on the front, and then you'll get a movement in there. So the fact is, on the back you're in a totally black space.
I'll put this back.
So so yeah, we did that. And the other problem I've got, remember, I'm shooting for a client who says, okay, we've got a wide 64 sheet, we've got a 16 sheet vertical, so can you shoot both formats?
Right.
Well, there is only one time when the water's right, the light is right, the sky is right, the models are in the right place. So the trouble was I had to shoot it, then I had to reset up very, very quickly to get it vertically shot. And the problem is I only had a platform that was built in a certain area. Luckily it kind of all worked and we managed to cram the boat more vertically towards camera and got that shot. But, you know, that takes time. Yeah. And then we had a very nice thing. One of my assistants, being fairly Scottish, brought out his bagpipes, and at the end of the wrap we had the bagpipes going up and down the road, which was a lovely way to finish.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Duncan's career started off, it mainly shot to fame. You shot to fame when the AOP, you won
well, it was a gold award,
gold
1994, yeah.
And this is how I came across you, because you photographed a mutual friend, Eric Edwards, the reed cutter up in Norfolk.
Yeah.
And I remember going out on the boat with Eric one day, and he says, I can't do a very good Norfolk accent. He said, I got a London photographer boy. He says, he's coming up here to Duncan McNicol. And I go, I've heard of him. And that pretty much launched your career, didn't it? Getting in the AOP.
Well, yeah, it was one of those strange things that I have always wanted to shoot out of the studio. I loved crafts. I loved the idea of being in Norfolk with the reeds and that lovely open light. And another friend of ours, a mutual friend, suggested I might like to go and meet Eric, and set the whole shoot up for me. And we took the 5.4 as usual, huge great tripod, and we had a wonderful day with Eric shooting. And then those pictures, in the end, I got 3 basic major images.
Yeah, we'll show them here. You'll see them on the screen now. Beautiful shots of Eric. And it's funny because as a landscape photographer, I don't usually include people. And I've been out with Eric many times, so he would get me into locations that other people couldn't get to. But then he would go off to work, and I'd never thought about photographing him. He was a true craftsman, wasn't he? He
was absolutely amazing. He was a beautiful human being. And I said, when I saw his stacks of reeds on the edge of the bank, I said, you know, you really are a pure artist. It's more than craft. It's art. The word artisan, it absolutely was Eric. Everything he did was just beautiful to watch. It was almost a ballet in a very strange, raw way. He was lovely, a lovely guy, and those images, I just felt right that day. You know, when sometimes you press the shutter, you know you got something magical. So I went back and I processed them myself, which is sort of unusual. I normally used to lab, but I processed a whole lot. It was all black and white. It was all 5.4 and 6x12, and I did do some on the Hasselblad, because I have to admit Eric moved quite quickly, and in the end trying to get the 5.4 in the right place.
That's right.
But the main shots, 2 main shots were done on the 5.4, and we did these beautiful prints by a guy called Keith Taylor, who used to work at Metro, and he again added to what I did. And when we entered them to the AOP, and amazingly we won this award, and then all of a sudden my folio was called in all over the place.
Okay, let's go on to your next client. Now this was Kawasaki.
Oh yeah,
Kawasaki. So you did a lot of automobiles, transport, motorcycles, those sort of clients. So what sort of problems did you have on that shoot?
Well, the Kawasaki was it was in America. So I had to get a location guy who knew America. He eventually came up with an area he thought would be good news, which was actually around Denver. And he went out there a week before we did. We eventually flew out there. We had a look at the areas he was suggesting. Normally, I'd have been out there on my own a day before the client came, but the client came with us this time. So I had a client on my shoulder. That's the Kawasaki client, which is unusual.
Yeah.
And we also had the art director, which would be fine. But to have the client there as well was a lot of pressure.
So you're having to make sure. Do you do a lot of reckoning before? I mean, the location finder obviously does this.
There's a location finder, and then I would look at those.
I had a location finder for my landscape shots. You know, just go out and find that location. I'll come along, press the shutter.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It's not that easy.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and have a look at the behind the scenes first.
All right. So the problem with that shoot was where the location finder had found, he was following the design that the art director had drawn quite a lot. And I was not over happy with 2 or 3 of the locations. I thought they were too crowded. I couldn't sort of feel the freedom that we were wanting, because what we were after was an open road. We were also shooting one bike with 2 people on it, with a pillion on it, and then another shot with the 2 separate bikes. So I just felt that we're in America, we should be showing the open road. So we managed to find this amazing curve and sweep with the Rockies, the white snow in the background of the Rockies, which is amazing. And then obviously location guys spoke to the local police, and we got a permit to sort the whole thing out. And then we had our own police guy there checking the traffic.
So I see you've got a dolly.
Yeah, we had a dolly, you're right.
Shot. So how did you use the dolly with the large format?
So with the large format, we had the camera fairly low on the dolly, and the dolly is just literally a train track, and we're on top, and the bike was set vertically, and we had the biker on the bike at that point, and we then moved the dolly, and while I was moving, probably I was shooting at a 15th of a second.
Right.
So because
you're getting a little motion blur then.
You get a motion blur.
Okay.
So you get motion blur on because I've got a wide angle lens, I'm quite low to the ground, so all of that stuff close to camera is blurred, it's moving.
Right.
And also you're then getting a blur behind the bike and the rider. Now, I didn't think that would work with them, and in fact in then they kept saying, I think we want the bike absolutely still, but we'd like to see the wheels spin. So we had to spin the wheels separately. I shot that separately, and then I had to shoot the road without the bike. Okay. So we had to do all the elements just in case, because you're only there one time. It's a lot of money.
So this is the difference between shooting nowadays and digital, where you have instant gratification straight away. You can check to see if you've got the shot.
Oh, sure.
But back then, so you're shooting with large format, which is 2 sheets to a holder.
Yep.
And you have to work quickly.
You do.
And you don't know if you've got the shot. So presumably you're shooting Polaroid.
So you're quite right. Yeah, we shot Polaroid all the time, in between changing anything in any direction. And luckily, because it's wonderful, Denver right up high, you get that amazing clarity. So unlike Britain, where we're always looking, another cloud, it's raining, the sun's out, the sun's in.
You had to stop each time.
We had to stop each time. Whereas that was constant. And the whole thing was we didn't need to have low light in this particular shot. We wanted bright skies. So that was great, but it still meant we had to make sure the composition was right. Yeah, and then we went back into Denver and we shot another shot inside Denver.
And then and the final shot here.
Oh yeah.
Completely different. It's amazing to see the
Polaroid, the Happy Snap.
The Happy Snaps, to see what you had to work with, and then the final shot, because you've got this sweep of the road going off.
Well, that's again because the camera was lower down. I made the camera as low as possible.
And you're using leading lines with the yellow.
We got the yellow. Yeah, we got the center line in there as well. Yeah.
And all the space here. I suppose this was used for other uses, magazine.
Yeah, it was, but I think they liked the open. The whole idea was the open road.
I see.
the whole thing was the space. So yeah, that worked well, but it was one of those difficult times in terms of the location guy finding not what I thought was the best space.
Right.
And without having the freedom to say to him, we need somewhere else, I had to say, it's not bad. Can we maybe look at a couple of alternatives?
Right.
As the client said, as it happened, the client absolutely adored that. And it just worked with one of those shoots that worked.
It's when you see that location, you know that.
Oh, we came up the hill and I said,
that's it.
Well, throw those ideas out. Why aren't we having the open road? And that's, you're talking about creativity.
Yeah.
At times you can't. You've got to stick to the pen line that they've drawn you. Could you do it like this, with that looking that way and this looking that way? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you do it, and other times you say, well, this is a better way, maybe.
Okay. So your final location, now you've done a lot of work for car advertising.
Yeah.
So I know in the studio, you're fairly constant. Everything is, the lighting, everything is just perfect. But when you're out in the elements on location, you're working against all sorts of things. So let's go to Paris.
Yeah, this is Paris. This is not the greatest picture in the world for me, but I love the complication that it gave me. We had to shoot the brand new Peugeot coupe designed by Pininfarina in a Place de Concorde.
I thought I recognized that. So that's gorgeous with the woman over here.
Yeah.
Flowing in her dress.
Yeah.
The lighting on the car looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And the fountain in the background.
And the fountain's there. Well, the fountain's the story. We got there. I said we can shoot here. We got got permits. Yep. Fine, no problem. Well, can we have the water? Oh, isn't the water on? This is my producer on the other end of the line, and he said the water should be on. I said it's not. There's no water there. There's no water.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
what did you do?
Well, my assistant said, hey, there's a film crew over there. Well, let's find out what they know, what's going on. Mm-hmm. Turned out to be a German film crew. Said, we've been trying to get the mayor's office to turn the water on. They say there's a problem somewhere, and they've been trying to repair it for about a month now.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So we're all there. We've got the model lined up. We've got everything.
You didn't scrap it, but...
So my wonderful agent, who is very Parisian, said there wasn't a problem at all. He'd go and speak to the mayor, and I said, these German guys have done that already. Yeah, it's okay. I'll speak through. And eventually got to the marketing guy at Peugeot. Got the marketing guy at Peugeot to ring and say, this is your premier car company, and we'd like to do an ad for the country in a Place de la Concorde.
Right.
You will turn the water on. And I don't know, within about 2 hours.
Excellent.
I don't know what was wrong. I've no idea why they didn't have it on. Anyway, it was possible. So we had water. That's okay.
Oh, brilliant. I'll bet everyone, once that came on, everybody was going, yes, we have water. We're in business.
It was great. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think the client had been there the day before and didn't know about the water. He just said, there's no water. And we said, we'll fix that. And it was okay. But we then had the situation where, for some reason, they wanted me to track the car, and also we've got this lady flowing in this flowy dress. Right. And they wanted movement in the dress, they wanted movement in the car, but they wanted the car sharp, which I was trying to explain to them is absolutely impossible. And we got a rig lined up again with a dolly on the floor, with a special rig that went round another pulley in another direction, so as the car moved one way, my camera moved with it. It didn't work that well. Yeah. So in the end, I was getting my assistant to hand push the dolly. So we were having to get the model to go, the car to go, and we shot. And in the end, I thought, this is never going to work. We got some Polaroids that looked good. Yeah.
So one thing I've noticed that in a lot of location car ads, they always wet down the surface.
Exactly.
And I see the fountain didn't spill over, but you
no, it didn't. It was dry as a bone, and it just had nothing there at all. And we'd already worked out to get the fire brigade, so the fire brigade sprayed the floor.
So that just gives a little bit more life to the pavement, reflections.
You get reflections going in with the girl and the cars in there.
Okay.
But the other thing with this shoot was, as usual with a car shoot, with a brand new car, they wanted each each angle. So you've got the side on, front right, front left. So each time I had this model floating around, trying to get her in the right place, then the car. So just in case it wasn't working, because I wasn't sure, I said, hey, we'll just shoot with the elements separately as well. We just about got it together. But what I missed out on was twilight hour, because we were so long getting this this contraption set up for the dolly that by that time the light really had gone behind.
Do you know, I think though, if you had the blue hour and you had that detail back there, it would detract from from the car, from the model, from the fountain, everything. Your eyes go to that, and it's not distracting.
Yeah, I think you're right. In the end, it has worked, because there's so. I mean, the three major elements are pretty huge anyway, and pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
But,
So, I've got a question. Anybody that's starting out nowadays that wants to do commercial landscape or on-location photography, what advice would you give them?
Well, the first one is try and follow your heart and the way you feel a shot ought to be. You obviously have some wonderful hero photographers that you would like to follow. Probably the best thing, or the thing I did, was try and imitate what they were doing at the time. And then once you've got that idea together, then move off and do your own direction.
Have your own style.
Your own style. It took me a while. So there was a beautiful photography by P.H. Emerson.
Yes, I know.
Right. And I just loved that feeling. So when I went out that day and Eric was there, that was in the back of my head. How it was all going to come out, I didn't know, but I just knew everything was working out.
Oh, excellent. So,
and that bit pushed me on to say, your way is the right way. It's very hard to get into that stage. Took a long time to get there. And then and those were the times that everyone loved your work, because it.
So what do you think is the difference between when you were shooting large format advertising campaigns and today shooting, I presume everybody's shooting digitally now?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's much easier, isn't it?
Much easier, Tom. much easier.
The gear is much lighter.
Yeah, you know full well what I'm going to do, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
know.
This is just unbelievable. It's got 3 lenses. It does everything.
I know.
HDR if you need it. No, I mean, the eye is what it's all about, and the creativity around it, and the thought of where, how, and why you're going to shoot something. But nowadays you've got the chance of looking all the time, at the back, referring, checking.
That's true. Well, thanks very much, Duncan, for agreeing to have this fireside chat and show us some of your work and tell us some of the stories behind photographing on location with large format.
Well, thank you, Tom. I've really enjoyed myself. It's been great.
So I hope you've all enjoyed this little insight into Duncan's work. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so now. Hit those like buttons and hit that bell. You'll get alerts for when we put a new video out. We have a lot more content coming out. And I know we've got the holidays coming up, but I'll try to get some new material out for you. I'm going off to warmer climes, hopefully if they'll let me out of the country. So until the next video, bye for now.